Today's lesson is Reaching for the Heavens in Meteora. Hello, everyone. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
Today we're going to be traveling, if we're allowed to do so now. And, of course, traveling can be fun. And, of course, we want to go to all sorts of interesting places in the world, including Greece. Hey, Mike, have you ever been to Greece before?
I have. I went to Greece as a young kid. I was lucky enough to be there a long time ago, but it is one of those places, probably in my top 5 places I want to go back to for sure. And I've never been to this area of Greece, Meteora, so that would definitely be on my bucket list.
Yes, it's a region of Greece that has lots of things to check out, lots of things to see and do. So maybe you've already been to Crete or you've already been to Athens, and now you'd like to go someplace different. So today we're going to go to Meteora, and we're going to reach for the heavens there. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen now to the first part.
Reaching for the heavens in Meteora. Towering above the plain of Thessaly in central Greece as if they fell from the heavens are the stone pillars of Meteora, home to religious sites since the beginning of the 9th century. The first humans to live among these peaks sought shelter in the numerous caves that dot the rocky landscape, where they left behind many ancient artifacts. Later, the pillars became home to hermits looking to separate themselves from society and focus on their faith. Only those few people with the strength and determination to climb the rocks could seek out the hermit's wisdom.
大家好，第一部分我们看到单字 shelter 这个字做不可数名词时有遮蔽、躲避或是避难的意思。例如Sally found shelter from the storm in an old garage. Sally 在一个老车库里找到躲避暴风雨的地方。另外，除了上面的意思外，这个字当可数名词时也可以指动物的收容所。我们可以说 There are hundreds of dogs in the animal shelter that need a home. 动物收容所里有数百只需要家的狗。再来，我们看到片语 leave behind 表示留下点点点或是把点点点抛在后方。举例来说Jessica was gone when we woke up, but she had left behind a note. 我们起床时 Jessica 已经出去了，但她有留下一张纸条。或是 As Kevin drove south, he left the bad weather behind. 当 Kevin 往南方开去时，他把糟糕的天气抛在脑后。另外，除了上面的意思，这个片语还可以表示把点点点留下，或是忘记带走点点点。例如 Be careful not to leave behind your glasses. 要小心别忘了拿眼镜。接着我们看到单字 artifact 这个字是名词，指手工制品或是文物，像是 Lisa collects artifacts made by Native Americans. Lisa 收集美洲原住民所做的手工制品。
Okay, so we're reaching for the heavens in Meteora. The heavens oftentimes refers to the skies or the stars, but also heaven can refer to a paradise in many of the world's religions. And, of course, this area of Greece has lots of religious sites there, or at least they were religious at one time. So if you go to those places, in a way, you are reaching for the heavens.
Absolutely, and you'll also be able to do some climbing there if that type of sport is something you're interested. So as Roger mentioned, you will also be climbing up towards the sky, so reaching for the heavens in that other way too. So let's check out the first sentence of the article, see what it says. We're going to find out exactly where in the country of Greece this area, Meteora, is. It says, towering above the plain of Thessaly in central Greece as if they fell from the heavens are the stone pillars of Meteora, home to religious sites since the beginning of the 9th century. Wow, so people have been making and living and establishing religious sites in this area of Greece for over 1,000 years. And we mentioned there the stone pillars of Meteora. Now, normally when we think of a pillar, we think of a tall, thick type of pole or a column, as we might call it. Pillars are usually used to hold up the roofs of buildings. Often in Taiwan, we'll have buildings that kind of hang out over the sidewalks. This gives us a place to walk when it's very sunny or raining. And then there are pillars that hold up that second floor of the building. So these pillars, though, in Meteora are not man-made. They are actually natural rock formations that look kind of like pillars that we would use in buildings.
Indeed. And, of course, another similar word is column, which you will see in Greek or Roman architecture or various other kinds of architecture around the world. They're like pillars that are supporting a roof. In this particular case, as Mike said, they are a natural formation. And this introductory sentence tells us a lot of information. It says that there are these stone pillars in Meteora and that they tower above the plains. So they're quite tall there in the plains of Thessaly there, or the plain rather. And of course, they're located in central Greece. And it's as if they fell from the heavens. And what are these pillars? Well, this area, rather, is home to religious sites since the beginning of the 9th century. So if something's religious, it has to do with a religion like Christianity or Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, stuff like that.
That's right. And a site is basically a place of interest, a place probably where something important happens or has happened in the past. If we talk about a religious site, we might be talking about a very old church or a place where something from the Bible or some other holy book or history of religion happened. We can also talk about historical sites, castles or palaces or things like that. So it's basically a place. Sites, of course, all around the world would be very attractive to tourists. If you want to visit the cultural or religious story of a country, you might want to visit its important sites. And this religious site, or these important places where religious activities happened, they actually stretch back to the 9th century. Obviously, people have been living in this area for a long time, and we learn a bit more about that in the next sentence.
Yep, let's talk some more about the history of this area. The first humans to live among these peaks sought shelter in the numerous caves that dot the rocky landscape, where they left behind many ancient artifacts. So people came to live among these peaks, and they were doing so to seek shelter. Shelter is like protection from something that is dangerous. Like if a typhoon comes and you're outside, you need to seek shelter. When I was growing up, of course, oftentimes during the summer, we would have tornado warnings, and they would tell us to seek shelter immediately. Otherwise, a tornado is going to blow you away.
Now it says these peaks, or these mountains, basically, these also the pillars of Meteora, anything that's very tall, like a rock formation, a mountain, or something like that, we can often refer to as a peak. And also the numerous caves there, so holes in the rock or gaps in the rock where people can sort of take shelter inside. They dot the rocky landscape. So when we say something dots an area, it's kind of scattered. You can find these things all over the place, but not in sort of an organized way, just sort of spread randomly around this rocky landscape, this rocky part of Greece. And it says the early people there, they left behind many ancient artifacts. Well, if a site is a place where something important happened, an artifact is an important thing to history or religion. If you want to see important historical or religious artifacts, the best place, of course, would be to look in a museum. So who were these people? It says later the pillars became home to hermits looking to separate themselves from society and focus on their faith. So religious activity going on. In this case, religious activity performed very quietly and all alone by hermits, because that's what a hermit is. It's a person who chooses to leave society, to live on their own, often far away from many other people, on an island or on top of a mountain. And the idea here is they go away just to devote their entire entire life to religion, to thinking about religion, to praying, to becoming wise and things like that. And often, of course, in stories, the hero will go and look for advice or wisdom from a hermit, some wise person who's spent their whole life away from other people, away from society, working on their religion and their faith. When we talk about faith, we're talking about your belief, in this case, your belief in God.
Indeed, and that happens here in Taiwan. Of course, you've got monks and nuns heading off to monasteries in order to separate themselves from the rest of society so they can focus on their religion or on their faith. And only those few people with the strength and determination to climb the rocks could seek out the hermit's wisdom. So yeah, if you were a person who had strength and determination, you were few in number. There were not very many people who had the strength to do that, and they also did not have the determination or the will or the desire to climb those rocks. But yes, if you had an important question that you needed answered and you needed to talk to those hermits, then you had that faith and that determination, and you could climb those rocks and seek out those hermits. If you seek something out or seek someone out, you basically look for them.
That's right. And the idea being, of course, that it's not easy to find. So if you're seeking it out, you're obviously showing some determination. You are going to do this or you are not going to quit. And we are not going to quit this article because we're only halfway through. So let's take a break and then we'll be back with more. Today, the hermits are gone, and in their place are several monasteries that watch over the towns below. Of the 24 monasteries that once called the Pillars of Meteora home, 6 remain, each housing a small number of Eastern Orthodox monks or nuns. The area was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1988, and the monasteries attract thousands of tourists each year.
第二部分我们看到单字 monastery， 这个字是名词，指修道院或是寺院，像是 The monastery provides help for homeless people in the area。 这座修道院为附近的流浪汉提供帮助。另外我们来补充一个相似字 Abbey， A-B-B-E-Y， Abbey 指大修道院或是大教堂。例如The Abbey was completely rebuilt in 1503 after it had been destroyed by a fire。 这座教堂在烧毁后于1503年彻底重建。
Okay, let's continue talking about Meteora here. We're talking about hermits, and we're talking about these monasteries and these religious sites where the hermits hung out. And today, the hermits are gone, and in their place are several monasteries that watch over the towns below. So we had hermits there before. They were seeking shelter, and they wanted to be separate from the rest of society so that they could focus on their religious faith. But they don't really do that anymore. The hermits are gone, but still you've got lots of monasteries. A monastery, of course, is a religious series of buildings where people go to be separate from the rest of society. As I said before, there are lots of Buddhist monasteries all over Taiwan.
That's where we often, of course, find monks living together in a small religious community. It's much easier to live in a monastery with a few other monks than to live by yourself as a hermit. So I can see why people chose to build these monasteries. And these monasteries, though, they are actually on top of many of these rock pillars in Meteora. That's why it says they watch over the towns below. Not only would the monks be up there in the monastery looking down on the towns below, but we also have the idea that monasteries, monks, religious people like this, they protect, they take care of the people around them in the community by helping out, by giving them a place to pray and things like that. It says, of the 24 monasteries that once called the Pillars of Meteora home, 6 remain, each housing a small number of Eastern Orthodox monks or nuns. So there used to be 24 monasteries scattered or dotted around this area, but 6 remain. So there are only 6 left these days. The others have closed down over the last several hundred years. But each of them house, or, they are the homes of a small number of Eastern Orthodox monks or nuns. So there are religious brothers and sisters, men and women, who've given their life to serving their God. And the Eastern Orthodox, this is sort of the Eastern and Russian version of Christianity.
And the area was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1988. And the monasteries attract thousands of tourists each year. They probably want to go there and check these places out, but at the same time, they may have some religious reasons for going there as well, to maybe work on their faith or whatever, and they'll lead better lives as a result. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the third part.
It's no wonder that the area is so popular. Visitors to Meteora can expect to find a place unlike any other on Earth, one in which natural and religious wonders combine to magnify one another's beauty.
最后第三部分我们看到动词 magnify， 意思是放大或是扩大，像是 The microscope magnified the drop of pond water, allowing students to see many tiny creatures. 显微镜把池水的水滴放大，让学生能够看到许多微生物。另外，我们来补充一个同义字 amplify， amplify， amplify 指放大声音或是讯号等，或是扩大。举例来说 ，The charity amplified its message by using celebrity endorsements. 这个慈善机构借由名人代言，将其讯息发扬光大。
Okay, let's take a look at the third part of our lesson for today. It begins with the phrase, it's no wonder that the area is so popular. So we've listed all these wonderful features of this area. So, of course, you're going to come to this conclusion. It's no wonder, it's no surprise that the area is so popular. How could it not be? It has all these wonderful pillars. It's got these monasteries, friendly monks and nuns, probably lots of things to see and do. So, of course, it's no wonder that it's popular among tourists and other people.
Absolutely. As you can see from the photographs, it's one of those places you look at and you almost can't quite believe there's something so unusual, an area so unusual on the earth. So a lot of people would want to go there. And what can you do if you do go there, if you do make the trouble of visiting this area? It says visitors to Meteora can expect to find a place unlike any other on Earth. Absolutely. It's a completely unique place. As I said, if you see pictures of it, you might imagine it's another planet or a drawing from the imagination of a Hollywood filmmaker. But no, it's a real place. So, of course, visitors want to go there, want to see it, and it is a place unlike any other on Earth, a very unique area of the world. It says one in which natural and religious wonders combine to magnify one another's beauty. The first thing you'll see are the pillars, of course, these amazing rock formations, and then finding out that hermits and monks and nuns have lived on top of these rock formations for hundreds, more than 1,000 years. It's quite amazing. It's quite a wonder. So all of this combines or joins together to magnify one another's beauty. When we talk about magnifying something, we talk about making something stronger or more powerful. A microphone will help to magnify the volume of your voice. If you want to look at something far away or something very, very small, a magnifying glass will make a small thing look big, and telescopes allow us, of course, to magnify light so that we can see distant stars. So if we're taking something that might be kind of small naturally, but through some process making it bigger by combining it with things or using special techniques, we're making it more powerful, we're making it stronger, we're magnifying it.
Indeed, and of course, Meteora sounds like it's not too far away from places like Athens or whatever. So, of course, if you make your plane reservations at the right time and make your travel connections, you should be able to get to this place relatively easy to check out all the things that are on offer there. Remember, the largest feature of the area is natural there with those pillars, the stone pillars of Meteora, but then you've got all these religious structures or these religious sites like the monasteries we mentioned before. Now, of course, there are other things that you can do and see there in this place in Greece there, which we'll talk about in our next program. So that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's have a listen now to our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始写到，迈泰奥拉的岩柱矗立在希腊中部的色萨利平原上，仿佛是从天上坠下。好，那文中它用到 as if they fell from the heavens。 同学们有没有注意到 as if 后方子句里面的动词，它是用过去式的 fell 而不是用现在式的 fall。 好，那我们来学习它的相关用法As if 或者是 as though， 它是表达仿佛好像，后面是要接子句。那么以下介绍两种用法。第一种是我们在描述事实啊，或者是描述可能发生的情况时，它们后面的子句呢是要用直说法，也就是说子句里面的时态是照正常变化的。假设你看到朋友眼睛红红的，眼眶泛泪，讲话还有鼻音，这时候我们可能会说What's wrong? You look as if you've been crying. 怎么啦？你看起来好像在哭耶。这件事有可能是事实，所以我们不用假设语气表达。好，第二个用法是，当我们在描述跟事实相反的情况，或者是在表达某个假设情况时，子句是用假设法。那像如果我们是要描述跟现在事实相反的情况，子句里面的动词就是要用过去式，而如果你是用 be 动词的话，则一律用 were。 所以它的句型就是 as if 或者是 as though， 再加上主词，再加上过去式动词或是 were。 像课文就是用到这样的句型，迈泰奥拉的岩柱不可能是从天上掉下来，这跟事实不符合，所以我们是用假设法As if they fell from the heavens 来表达。好，那么接着呢，我们来看一个例句哦。Amy's ex-boyfriend talks to her as if they were still together. Amy 的前男友对她讲话的样子，仿佛他们还在一起，可是事实上他们已经分开啦。所以我们子句用假设法，这个 be 动词是用 were 来表达 as if they were still together。好，课文接着写到，第一批住在那些高峰里的人类，在那里留下许多古老的手工艺品。那文中是用到 artifact 这个名词来表达手工艺品。我们来学它的字首字根。好，看到 FAC 或是 FACT 或是 FIC 或是 FICT 还有 FECT， 这些字根表示做、制作、产生。像 fact 这个名词，它表示事实，那就是源自于实际上有做的事情这样的概念。还有呢，像 factory 工厂， manufacture 制造，这些字当中呢都有字根 FACT， 都是跟制造有关哦。好，那么在 artifact 这个字当中，它的字首 art 就表示艺术，那么fact 表示制作，而中间它用字母 I 来连接 art 跟 fact， 这个 I 就是用来连接复合字的两个要素，合在一起 artifact 就是表达手工艺品、人工制品。好，以上是今天的重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Pillar. Pillars of stone rise high above the desert sands. Religious. Some people are treated unfairly because of their religious beliefs. Site. Gold has been mined at this site for hundreds of years. Shelter. The people on the beach ran for shelter when it started raining. Faith. Stephen's faith in God helped him when he was experiencing hardship. Determination. It takes a lot of determination and hard work to follow your dreams. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.